People seem to think that because ChatGPT responds immediately, that that's somehow better. But let's think about this in terms of confidence. A surprising amount of people have been using ChatGPT for emotional support lately, and a lot of them say that it has helped them feel more confident. As a therapist myself, building a healthy sense of self-confidence is a really big part of the work that I do. So this idea that ChatGPT can do that too is really interesting to me. So I wanted to try it out for myself. In this video, I'll be showing you my conversation with ChatGPT, and I'll be breaking down what I thought it did well and what it didn't do so well based on 5 criteria. And I will preface this by saying that self-confidence is a really nuanced and complex topic. So I definitely won't be covering everything in this video because I am just focusing on this one conversation that I had with ChatGPT. But yeah, maybe something to come back to in a future video because I do find this really interesting. So I wrote to ChatGPT as a fictional person, let's call her Kelly, asking it to respond like a therapist. I used a temporary chat, and this is version 4.0. I said, please respond like a therapist. I'm a marketing assistant and I'm being overworked at my job. I've been given way too much to do in too little time, and my frustration has been building and building over time, but I've never said anything about it. I know I can be a people pleaser, so I never say no, and I've been avoiding confrontation. At this point, I'm just so exhausted and I've reached a boiling point. I need to do something about it because I can't go on like this. I want my boss to either give me less work or give me a raise. There's a team meeting tomorrow and I think it would be a good time to speak up. Can you help me feel more confident to finally use my voice and prepare for the conversation? And ChatGPT gave me this nice long response. I won't read all of it. If you really want to, you can pause, but I will be going over the main points. So the first aspect I want to point out, because it is really important when building confidence, is language. So language is ChatGPT's strength. As a large language model, it is good at language. And the reason that language matters when you're building confidence is you need to be able to put your experience into words in order to understand it, because you can't truly be confident about something unless you truly understand it. I mean, I guess in theory you could be, but that's probably more arrogance rather than confidence. And we do this in therapy too. We use language in order to put thoughts and feelings into words in order to make sense of your experience. And ChatGPT starts off its response by naming what's happening. And it even says, let's name what's happening. And it basically gives a pretty good summary of what Kelly has said she's feeling. I especially like this metaphor. It says, it can feel like you're quietly drowning while keeping up appearances. For someone who may struggle with people pleasing, that could feel really validating. Like, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. But something I will say, because ChatGPT is really good at summarizing and reflecting back what you've said, is that there's something really powerful about having a human look you in the eyes and tell you something like, I hear you, or I'm proud of you, both of which ChatGPT says in this response. And if you've had that experience, you know how powerful it can be, and you know what I mean. And if you haven't had that experience with a human, then I could see how this kind of response from ChatGPT might actually feel really affirming. It might feel really, really special and unique in that way. So if I had to give ChatGPT a score out of 10 for language, I would give it a 9. Honestly, this is a really good summary, and especially this comment where it says, what you're feeling is your inner compass trying to tell you that something needs to change. That's true. That comment is appropriate here because it's encouraging Kelly to trust her gut feelings that something is off, something needs to shift. I mean, we don't know yet what needs to shift. Is that going to be something external? Is that something internal? Does she need to change something? But yeah, just a generally good summary. And if you're shocked by this high score of 9, don't worry, because it's all downhill from here. As validating as this might feel, we do need to remember that language and having your experience reflected back to you is not the only thing that matters when you're trying to build self-confidence. The next point I want to address, because it's such an obvious difference between ChatGPT and a human therapist, for example, is the response time. So ChatGPT responds immediately. I think it took like 20 seconds to produce this response. Whereas if you want to ask a human therapist, you might have to wait until your next session, which might be several days. And people seem to think that because ChatGPT responds immediately, that that's somehow better. But let's think about this in terms of confidence. Yeah, if Kelly's feeling really anxious and she has a lot of self-doubt in the moment, getting this immediate response can feel really comforting, really reassuring. She might even say she feels, oh, okay, I feel more confident now after reading this response. Although I would probably say that what she's feeling is less about confidence and more about relief or reassurance. But if Kelly is someone who needs constant reassurance, then there's probably an underlying reason for that, like struggling to trust herself or struggling to deal with uncertainty. So the more that she relies on ChatGPT for immediate answers, the more she may be feeding her need for reassurance with more reassurance and not actually addressing the underlying issues. And over time, she may get more and more used to needing that external validation rather than building the internal resources to help her cope. So in the long term, that could actually weaken her self-trust and her confidence. On the other hand, waiting for a delayed response, like for example, from a human therapist, might feel really difficult in the moment because Kelly's feeling really anxious. She needs some sort of comfort. But imagine instead of writing to ChatGPT, she finds a way to calm her anxiety by taking a bath or listening to her favorite music. And maybe she decides that she does want to have this conversation, but she doesn't need to have it tomorrow. She can take some time to reflect, to plan it a little bit better, to make sure that she actually has it effectively and she communicates everything properly. So by waiting, Kelly is actually showing herself that this thing that feels really big and feels really urgent in the moment is actually not as big or as urgent as it feels that it is. And this is actually what will show her over time that she's stronger than she thinks she is, she's more resilient than she thinks she is, and that's what's going to help her build self-confidence longer term. So yeah, I know those immediate responses are really comforting, but if you want to build long-term self-confidence, learning to tolerate not having immediate answers is a really important skill to develop. With a human therapist, the fact that you only meet once a week, for example, gives you the opportunity to practice resilience and build confidence. In your session, maybe you talk about how to manage anxiety in between sessions, and then you have a structured amount of time in between where you can actually put that knowledge into practice. With ChatGPT, the boundaries are much less clear because not only does it respond immediately, but it also, in this example, really echoes Kelly's sense of urgency and kind of validates for her that, yeah, this is an urgent issue. And it says, this is the moment to take back your power. You need to have the conversation as soon as possible at work. And it just kind of blindly agrees that this is the best way to handle your anger, to manage your anxiety, and to deal with this issue at work. So my score out of 10 for response time, in terms of giving an immediate response that feels good, like a 7, but in terms of building long-term confidence, I would give it a 3. I think there's too much risk here of making you dependent on needing those immediate responses over time, especially when they're so validating. Which brings me to my next point, validating and challenging. So this is a pretty well-known issue at this point with ChatGPT, that it does offer a lot of validation and doesn't really challenge you very much. And real confidence is about knowing your strengths and your weaknesses. So for most of us, that means having a healthy balance of validation and challenging so that we can build a healthy and robust sense of confidence. And I know you may be thinking, well, you need to prompt ChatGPT. If you prompt it, it will challenge you. And I will come back to prompting in a second. I have more to say about that, but I will say one thing now, which is I did tell it to respond like a therapist. So if ChatGPT understood what good therapy is, it should already be taking a more nuanced approach to this, which it is not, because this response is just this automatic and absolute validation of everything that Kelly is saying. And I could actually see how Kelly might feel more confident in herself after reading this response. It's so affirming. But feeling confident is not the same as building confidence, because feelings are not necessarily an accurate representation of reality. I can feel that I'm in danger. It doesn't mean that I'm actually in danger. I can feel that I'm a worthless human, but that doesn't actually mean that I have no value as a person. So just because Kelly might feel confident after reading this response does not mean she's actually building confidence. Let's explore why. So first of all, there's this issue of timing. I mean, Kelly says in her message, there's a team meeting tomorrow and I think it would be a good time to speak up. And ChatGPT says, yeah, this is the moment to take back your power. Like, we're just going to assume that, yes, this is the best moment. And it's also the best way to deal with the situation. But really, we need more context here. If Kelly was my therapy client, I would want to know, how long has she been at this job? Is it a good time to ask for less work? Is it a good time to ask for a raise? Kelly said the team meeting is tomorrow. Okay, well, what's the topic of the meeting? Who's going to be there? Is it just your boss, or is it 50 people? Is it really the best context to help her get what she wants? Because if Kelly is setting herself up for failure, that's not going to help her confidence in the long term. Also, why does she feel that she needs to have the conversation tomorrow? Is that just because she's feeling so angry and so fed up? In which case, maybe we could manage the anger first and then channel that anger more productively so that she goes into the conversation equipped with more than just anger. All of this context needs to be explored if we care about Kelly and we actually want to help her build self-confidence. And ChatGPT did not even attempt to do any of this. It didn't ask any questions in the whole answer. Here's another comment that might feel really validating to Kelly in the moment. ChatGPT says, you're not asking for anything unreasonable. You're asking to be treated with dignity. And this kind of reassurance, aside from not being based on any context really other than what Kelly has said, it's just very black and white. This idea that either you are reasonable or you are unreasonable, and you're sort of either in this category or in that category. It also says, if you're met with resistance, that tells you something about your workplace, which is again very black and white, because if you're being reasonable, but then you're met with resistance and that tells you something about the workplace, well, maybe the workplace is being unreasonable. And there's this sort of vibe of you're probably right and they're probably wrong. It's very sort of split in that way. And of course, in extreme situations of abuse, for example, then it is the abuser's fault. It is one person's fault. But in most cases of resistance or disagreement, there are two people in that dynamic. And usually it's not as simple as one person's right, one person's wrong, and it's only one person's fault. And maybe leaving this workplace is the best decision for Kelly. I mean, we don't know just based on this one message, but what if she wants or needs to keep working there? Think about, how is Kelly going to feel in a workplace where she takes on this black and white mentality of, I'm being reasonable, I'm right, the workplace is being unreasonable, they're wrong. She's probably not going to feel very happy. She's probably not going to feel very collaborative. And she might at times feel superior or inferior compared to her coworkers, but she's probably not going to feel this stable sense of self-confidence in her ability to work with and negotiate with the people around her. And this is the main problem with all this validation that AI gives, is that it feels really great in the moment, but it can come back to bite you. In the long term, a black and white mentality could actually hurt your confidence, not to mention your relationships or your job prospects. So my score out of 10 for validating and challenging, I mean, in the moment, the validation feels good, so it might feel like an 8. But long term, if you're looking to grow as a person, the fact that there's zero challenging here, I'm gonna give it a 2. And the only reason I'm not giving it a 0 is that there is some benefit in validating Kelly's gut instinct here that something needs to change. That part can be validated because something does need to change here. So here's my thing about prompting, because I know people will say that ChatGPT will challenge you if you prompt it correctly. By the way, if you have prompts that you think are good, send them to me and I would love to try them. But here's the problem. How does ChatGPT know when what you need is a confidence boost? Or maybe you need a bit of a reality check. Like, how does it know whether you need to be validated or whether you need to be challenged? The answer is it doesn't, because it's only using the information that you've given it in your own words. So if you've told it to challenge you, it will challenge you. If you've told it to be kind, it will be kind. But it's doing those things because you've asked it to, not because that's what you need. Which brings me to my next point, blind spots. Everyone has blind spots. It doesn't matter how emotionally intelligent you are, how self-aware you are, everybody has blind spots. I said that ChatGPT only knows what you tell it. And I've heard people say this about human therapists too. They say, well, doesn't a human therapist have the exact same limitation? Doesn't my therapist only know what I tell them about myself? Well, yes and no, because a human therapist, at least a good human therapist, is not just picking up on what you say, but what you're communicating in all these other ways as well. For example, your tone of voice, your body language, your facial expressions, when you pause or when you hesitate, the emotions behind what you're saying, because you could say I'm excited or you could type I'm excited, but if your face looks like this, then there's a mismatch there. And it's interesting to see, well, what could be going on there? Your general energy and presence in the room. Also patterns in how you're communicating. And what I think is one of the most important pieces of information, which is how it feels to be talking to you. A good therapist learns about you by experiencing you, not just through words, but through everything. So I would actually argue that a human therapist that's skilled in reading all these layers of communication has more information about you than ChatGPT, which means they're in a better position to catch your blind spots and bring them to your attention. It also means they're in a better position to sense when you're actually needing the confidence boost and when maybe you're needing more of a reality check and maybe you need to be challenged. And do human therapists always get this right? No. But it's just important to remember that with ChatGPT, we do all have blind spots, and it's probably going to miss some of them, if not a lot of them, especially because ChatGPT, at least this current version, and at least as far as I know, it is only using your words. So it may end up giving you what you think you need or what you've told it that you need, whether that's validation or challenging or some combination, rather than what actually helps you. It's just something to keep in mind. And if you find this kind of analysis interesting and you're curious about what AI can do and what it can't do in terms of supporting you with your mental health, you can check out my free guide. It's in the description. It's called AI Therapy, 10 Things You Need to Know. It's totally free in the description. So yeah, in this example, Kelly thinks she needs a confidence boost, but maybe there are blind spots that she's missing and ChatGPT is missing that really should be explored here. So my score out of 10 for blind spots, I give ChatGPT a 1 because it's not really offering new information and it's not even trying to ask for new information. And the only reason it's not 0 is because of the language, honestly, especially in that first section where it's summarizing how Kelly feels. I mean, maybe she could get something from that feels a little bit new. But yeah, in this example, ChatGPT was not good with the blind spots. And the next point I want to address, giving tools versus addressing the deeper issue. I did not ask ChatGPT to give me tools, but it gave me tools. And honestly, I think that's kind of a reflection of the internet nowadays, because that's where it gets its information. And the internet's response to most things mental health is, oh, you have a problem? Here are some tools to help you deal with it. So I'm not going to blame ChatGPT for that. These tools that it gives, it says, practice saying it out loud tonight, ground yourself physically before the meeting. I mean, generally speaking, these are not bad tips if you're trying out a new way of communicating and you just want to calm yourself before you do it so you can do it as effectively as possible. But this third tool here, you don't need to over-explain or apologize. I mean, what if Kelly doesn't handle the conversation in the best way? What if she unintentionally comes off as more forceful than she meant to, or she's disrespectful in some way, or she doesn't choose her timing well? Should she not apologize? Like, taking accountability is an important part of having a healthy sense of self-confidence. Like, we all know that person either in our lives or on social media or in political power who never apologizes. And that person does not have a healthy sense of self-confidence. They might be overly confident and be arrogant, or they may just have such low confidence that they're afraid to admit that they're wrong, but it's not healthy confidence. And I'm not saying be a people pleaser, because that's the other extreme and that's not healthy either. But this blanket advice from ChatGPT to just not apologize, it kind of gives you this tool to appear confident in the moment, but it's not really promoting a healthy sense of accountability here, which is necessary if you want to be a confident person. And there's also no attempt here to deal with the underlying reason for having low self-confidence. I mean, when you get a tool, maybe that helps you in the moment, it's kind of surface level. Tools kind of help you get through a particular situation, but until you address the underlying reason for having low self-confidence, that's a problem that's going to keep appearing. Maybe in different contexts, maybe in different ways, but the problem will still be there. In this case, Kelly has some people-pleasing tendencies. She knows that. She has some self-awareness, and that's a good starting point. But what's actually going on under the surface? Is it that she doesn't feel safe expressing her needs? Is it that she feels guilty saying no? Is it that she's scared of conflict because of what it might lead to? Is it that she doesn't trust herself or trust other people to be able to deal with disappointment? Is it all of the above? I mean, at some point, if Kelly wants to address her self-confidence, she's going to have to address whatever these underlying issues are. And this is kind of a painful truth that for most of us, our self-confidence was hurt in relationships. And so it's probably going to have to heal in relationships, which that kind of raises the question, can ChatGPT help you do that? Can it provide a relationship where you can properly heal some of those deeper issues? Let me know if you want a video on that topic, because that's a whole other thing. But yeah, my score out of 10 for tools versus addressing the deeper issue. I mean, good therapy is usually a sort of balance of both of those things. And here we just have the tools. So I guess I'll give it a 5. Yeah. So can ChatGPT boost your confidence? Honestly, I'm going to say yes. I think it can boost your confidence, but I think the more important questions that we should be asking are, what kind of confidence is it helping you build? How short-term versus long-term is that confidence? How helpful versus potentially harmful is it to you and to the people around you? If we know it's possible to have low confidence and we know it's possible to be too confident, how do we know if ChatGPT is helping you find that healthy sweet spot of confidence? Also, what is the confidence that it's helping you build based on? Is it based on reality? Is it based on your prompt? Is it based on your strengths and your weaknesses? I think my main concern with all of this is that it feels really good in the moment, probably, but not great long term. Because if my ratings were based on how it feels in the moment, honestly, they'd be pretty high. Response time is great, available all the time. ChatGPT is really validating, which feels really great. The empowering vibe it gives you of, if there's resistance, you don't need that, you can do better. But when we start to consider the long-term impact, it could actually hurt your confidence long-term. So let me know what you think. Do you think ChatGPT can help you build confidence? Why or why not? Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. I mean, all of this context. Don't be a perfectionist. Okay, let's do one more.